This is Gemara Metziah Daf Yod, and we're holding at the bottom of Tes Amid Beis. We are 6 lines from the bottom. Amar le Rav Nachman le Ula. Ula just finished explaining that the Ula was said in the name of Yeshua ben Levi, that the machlokes in the Mishnah is from Asher to Ani. The machlokes is, do we say 2 migus, do we say 1 migu? Do we say, number one, that one could be mafkir, one can make all his possessions ownerless, and thereby become an Ani, and then once you could be kohen for yourself, you could kohen for someone else. Migu de zachlin avshei, zachinam bilechavri. And the Rabbanan say, no, we only say 1 migu. However, Ula taught us, but la'ani divrei akol, zachaloi. Why? Migu de zachlin avshei, zachinami lechavri. So Amar le Rav Nachman le'ula, Rav Nachman wasn't so happy. And he said to Ula, maybe there really is indeed a machlekes even from one ani to the next. Why? When it comes to Metziah, when it comes to finding an object, everyone is the same level of poverty with regard to a Metziah. There's no one that's more of an usher and ani because it's a found item. Utinan. And yet, what do we learn in our Mishnah? If someone's running an animal, and he sees a Metziah, and he tells his friend to give it to me. No, he takes it, and he's a chisiba. I want to be zeichen it. Zachaba, he's zeichen it himself. So he amr b'shanalani in machlokes. If you're going to tell me the machlokes is even Ani la'ani as we turn over to Yudam and Aleph, then it makes a lot of sense. Masnisa nami rabbanani, mani rabbanani. Who is our Mishnah? Our Mishnah is the Rabbanan, and that's the reason why Migu zachil and avshei, zachinami lechavrei. However, ali amrit bashal ni machlokes. If you're going to tell me that the machlokes, Rav Elazar and the Chachamim is Asher lani machlokes avami ani lani divrei akol zachalai. So who is the din in the Mishnah? Hamani lo Rabbanim lo Rav Elazar. The Mishnah doesn't fit with anyone because the Mishnah says he can be zeicha for himself. Why? Why don't we say Migu de zachlin avshei? It should automatically have to be zeicha for someone else. The Mishnah seemingly says he's not a kohen for the other guy. Says the Gemara, Amar le, responds Ula no kasha. Masnisa and Amar tchila. The Mishnah is referring to a case where he says, I got it for myself first, meaning he's negating the whole story. He never really picked it up for the other guy at all, but rather when he picked it up at the onset, he was doing it for himself. And that's the reason why he's kohen for himself. And the Gemara says, this is a very logical answer. The Ketani Seifa, 5 lines down, the Seifa taught us, if after you give it to the other guy, you said, I wanted to be zeichen tchila first, Leimer Klum. So tchila b'seifa lamali. Why does it say in the seifa I wanted to be zeichen it first? Pshita, it's obvious. Tchila kamar. That's what he's saying. He's saying I wanted to have it for myself. Elalav akamash v'lan. Rather, what's the chiddush reisha to amar tchila? That in the first case, the chiddush is that over there he said tchila. That when he picked it up for himself, like Ula is explaining, and that's the reason why indeed he is zeichen it for himself, but it's not a kasha on Ula. Ve'edach, and Rav Nachman, who argues on Ula, Rav Nachman who says that the machlokes is indeed me'ani la'ani. How is he going to explain the Mishnah? Tani Seifa legli reisha. The end of the Mishnah is just revealing what the first part of the Mishnah is talking about. Seifa damar techila Reisha the loy amar tchila, the exact opposite. That only in the seifa, you're right. That case is pashit. That he already gave it to him. Said, "Oh, I wanted to get it first." But we're saying that why? Because Reisha the loy amar tchila. That really he did not say tchila, and only now he's saying he wanted it for himself, and that's going to be the Chiddush. Before we move on, let's just take one moment to see how Rashi speaks out the teretz of Rav Nachman. Ve'edach, Rashi is a little bit further down in the Amr of Nachman, Amr l'chatani seifa t'chila glui reisha. Lemeimar, which teaches us davka katani b'deseifa t'chila katani v'reisha loitani davku. Says Rav Nachman, read the Mishnah. In the seifa it says t'chila. In the reisha it does not say t'chila. Why? Clearly, because the seifa is tchila, not the reisha. Seifa to loy efshar b'loy tchila. Amani zachiti tchila. In the seifa, it has to be that case that he said, "I am zeichaneh first." Kodim shenasatia lecha. I wanted to be kind of before I gave it to you. Loimer klum. Why? Because when you gave it to him, you showed that guy, I clearly picked it up for you. Now you're saying, no, I really meant to pick it up for myself. Too late. And yet, but why? Because you did not give it to him yet. Continues the Gemara, Rav Nachman v'Rav Chisda. Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda are 10 lines down. First one is Chisda Damri Tavayu Hamagbia Metzila Chaveroi Loi Kana Chaveroi. They're both of the opinion if you pick up something for your friends, it doesn't work. My taima says Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda, there's a fundamental flaw in picking up a davka Metziah for someone else. My taima. You're grabbing for one creditor when it's detrimental to someone else. If Reuven owes money to Shimon, and I know that, and I go and I grab that money from Reuven for Shimon, it only works if there's no one else that Reuven owes money to. But if I'm toiviz the Baal Chayv, I grab for Shimon, but that's detrimental to other people that also have a claim against Reuven. So then we say, Mecha Tesi, why let it collect for him and not for someone else? So too, said Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda, if you pick up a Metziah is ostensibly anyone can get it. It's Chav La'acherim. If I pick up this diamond watch for Reuven, the rest of the world just lost out on the potential to get this diamond watch. Says Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda, therefore, Hamagbia Metziah lechaveroi, loi kana chaveroi. Eishrei Rav Rav Nachman. Rav asked Rav Nachman. Metzias b'ayal liatzma, he says the Brisa. If a worker picks up a found object, he'll have to keep it for himself. But when the arrangement that he made with the Baal Bayis originally was, weed for me today, dig for me today. But if the Baal Bayis said to him, if Baal Bayis just said a blanket statement, you're working for me today, then the Metziah goes to the Baal Bayis. So what do we see? We see that the worker can pick up something on behalf of the Baal Bayis. What happened to the fact that it's Chav La'achrini? It's a detriment to someone else. You, Rav Nachman and Rav Chisda, said that you're not able to pick up a Metziah for someone else. But we see here in the Brisa you can. Amar lei no kasha shani poyel. So a worker is different because the hand of a worker is considered like an extension, like the hand of the Baal Bayis. V'hamar Rav, says the Gemara. What about the fact that Rav said, said Rav that a worker is able to back out in the middle of the day of his working. But if you're going to tell me that a worker is considered an extension of the Baal Bayis, how is he able to back out? Amar lei, Kol kama d'lo hader be'kiad balabayisu. He could back out, but if he doesn't, it's considered like the hand of the balabayis. Ki hader be, and when he backs out, why is he able to? Taimach rino. Techsev says in the Torah, Klibnei Yisrael avadim klal Yisrael, you're a servant to me. Avadim lavadim, you're only a servant to me and not to other people. Amar Cheber Rav Yechanan. And with this, we conclude part A of today's shir. Magbiim to the chaver kana chaveri. Vimtim salaymar, vimtaymar mishnaseinu damar tunali, v'loy amar zachali. Because the Mishnah, he said, give it to me. He did not say, be zeichen it for me. But concludes of Chiyah Barabba, indeed, I'm magbiim to the chaveroi. You are yes, kana chaveroi. I, Rav Nachman, Rav Chista, they argued. And they said, you're not kana chaveroi. Why? Because they said it's chav lachrini. But Rav Chiyah Barabba Rav Yechanan says your deed are koina. And with that, we move on to the next Mishnah. Says the Mishnah, Ra says the Metziah v'nafal aleho. You see a Metziah and you fall on the found object. Ubachar, someone else comes and grabs it. Says the one that picked it up is the one that is zoich in it. The fact that you fell in it, you are not. 10 lines in the bottom. First word in the line is Bar Dela Arba Mois Sheladam Kainis Lebachol Makoim. Said Rish Lakish in the name of Avakaim Bar Dela that you know the reason. Not you know the reason. We'll see how this relates to our mission in a second. But says Rish Lakish, when something is within your Dalit Amois, you can make a kinyan. The Dalit Amois that surround each person are considered to be his rishos. My taima. What is the reason? Takin Rabbanan. The Rabbanan said such a thing. We don't want people coming to fight, and therefore said Chazal, anything within your Dalit Amois is yours, and no one else could come and grab it from you. Amar Abaye, Ma'aser Chever Yosef Peya. Amar Rava, Ma'aser Yaakov Idin Izakin. So says Abaye and Rava, Rachever Yosef, Rav Yaakov Aridi asked kashas on the statement of Rish Lakish V'Shemav Koyin Bardala. One kasha is going to be from Peya, and one kasha is going to be from Nizakin. And explains the Gemara. Amar Abaye, Ma'aser Chever Yosef Peya. Natal mixas Peya v'Zarik al Ashar. Peya, the corner of the field that has to be left over for the aniyim. If someone comes and picks up some of it and then throws it over the rest of the peah, the rest of the wheat or whatever it is that's in the field, ein la baklum. He doesn't get anything. The fact that you threw one piece of wheat over the other wheat is nothing. Nafalay aleh. However, if he fell on top of it, paras talisa elay, spread his talis over it, mavirin oisa himenu, then they remove it from him. Again, he didn't do anything. Same applies to a sheaf that is forgotten. So asks Abaye, he's certainly within Dalit Amos in all these cases. So why isn't he kaina with the Dalit Amos? Answers the Gemara, you're right that theoretically he should have been. He did not say, I want to be kaina with my Dalit Amos. Says the Gemara, it's a Tekanah Rabbanan. Who cares? You said you don't want to say. Answers the Gemara, since he fell on it. He revealed, he showed us that what? The fact that he did something else, he didn't just not say, I want to be kaineh. You're right, this is a Tekanah Rabbanan. But you know why he's not kaineh? He's not kaineh because he did an action to show that he wants to be kaineh with a different mannerism. Therefore, his Dalit Amos will not be kaineh for him. Rapapa Amar, another teretz, Kita Kinale Rabbanan, Arba Amos. When was this takana of Dalit Amos? His Ba'alma is only in the rest of the world, in the general public. However, Bisada de Balabayis, Loi Takinale Rabbanan. If I'm in someone else's field, this din de Rabbanan allowing me to be kind of with my Dalit Amos does not apply. Even though the Torah was zeicha to the ani to be able to get the peah, To walk in the Baal Bayis' field, and to take the matnas aniyim. However, to say that it's actually your chatzar and you can be kaina with it being in your dalaramas, loy zacha le rachmano. So says the Gemara, two different ways to explain for Reish Lakish. That was Abaye's kash on Reish Lakish and two terutzim. Amar Rava Moshe Rav Akiva Yidin Nizak. So Rava says, I have a kasha from Yaakov Yidin Nizakin on Reish Lakish that he said the name of Avakayin Bardla. Ras and Metziah Mishnah and he fell in, and of course, the whole discussion was brought in because of this. The one that took it is Kaina acquires the Amid Abraham Shaladam. Kaina Saibachama says Rava, if you're Dalarams or Kaina, wherever you are, Abraham is the day. You're within the Dalaramos, you're within 4 Amos, you're within such proximity to the items, you should be kind. Answers the Gemara, my skin of Dlamar act. He didn't say I want to be kind. If there was a kind of the Rabbanan, who cares? Answers the Gemara, by falling in the gully, that didn't feel you show that you want to be kind with falling and not with your Dalid Amos. Rav Sheishes Amar says Rav Sheishes and second teretz. When did the Rabbanan make a takana that your 4 amos are kind is in a simta, the sides of Rosh Hashanah, which are not a lot of people there. Rosh Hashanah, the Kadach Rabim. But over here, what are we talking about? Rosh Hashanah in our Mishnah, where there's a lot of people there. Leitkin Rabbanan. There is no takana to be kind with your Dalit Amos. Says more 1 second, but it said Kol Makaim. Kol Makaim. What is that? Lasuye Sidei. Rishus Harabim. That comes to include the Sidei Rishus Harabim, but not the Rishus Harabim itself. So again, the din of Reish Lakish that he said over in the name of Abba Karin Barzla, that is a Kinyan Dalit Amos, the Kinyan Chatzar B'chol Makaim, the Kasha of Abaye from Metziah, the Kasha of Rava from our Mishnah, and the same teretz that by falling one showed he only wants to be kind in such a mannerism and not with Dalit Amos. And the second teretz of Rav Papa, the second teretz of Rav Sheishes, that either it's not this takana in the Sad of the Baal Bayis, or not in Rishas Harabim. Continues the Gemara, Amar Reish Lakish Misham Abba Kayin Bardala, a second din of Reish Lakish name Bardala, Kitana Ein La Chatzar Ve'ein La Dalad Hamis. We're in the middle of discussing this kidney Dalad Hamis, the kidney of a Chatzar. Says Reish Lakish, a Kitana does not have such a kidney. So machlokes Reish Lakish versus Rav Yochanan, whether Ketana has such a kinyan. Says the Gemara, B'maika Mifligi, what is the machlokes? We're about 20 lines down. The first word of the line is Kom Mifligi. Mar Savar, says the Gemara, Rav Yochanan holds Chatzar Misham Yada Yisrael. Now we're getting fundamental in how and in the way that one is kaina, one acquires to something being in his chatzar. Says Rav Yochanan, your chatzar is like your yad, it's like your hand. Just like a kitana has a hand, chatzar nami isla. Omar sav Reish Lakish holds chatzar mizum shlichos Yisrael. No, Reish Lakish holds shlichos. Lastly, kitana does not have a cannot make a shliach chatzar nami. Lastly, just of course. The way to memorize this is Rav Yochanan with the Yud is Yad, Reish Lakish is with the Shin is Shlichos. Says in the Gemara, really? Does Reish Lakish hold that this is the din of Shlichos? Vatanya, we learned in a Brayza b'yadei in the Yada. He says in the Pasik. Where's the Pasik? 1 second, excuse me. If the gneva is found in your hand, so that's what we know. That's only can make a kinyan by something being in your hand. How do you know you can be a kinyan with an item being in your roof, in your chutzner, in your enclosure? So according to Reish Lakish, the whole makar, the whole source for such a kinyan is by Geneva. So if you're going to tell me that the way that you're kind of with your chatzar is that it's your shliach, that means that your chatzar, an item being in your backyard, is like an item being in what? Your shliach's hand. And so if you're stealing something being in your backyard, that means you're stealing with your shliach. What about the general klal? Ein shliach ledvar aveira v'kaim l'nishil dvar aveira. You cannot make a shliach to do an aveira for you. Answers the Gemara, Amar Ravina. When do we say that you cannot make a shliach for an aveira? It's only where a shliach is also part of the chiyuv. He himself has the isser. So if he does it for you, it's still his isser. Avul b'chatzar, an inanimate object, to lav bar chiyuvu, which is obviously not have any chiyuvim. Mechayiv sholchai will say yesh shliach dvar aveira. And the one that created the story is going to be chayiv. Says the Gemara, 1 second. Does this rule of Ravina stand the test of time? Elameyat oimer li isha. 15 lines to the end of the Amid. The isha is the first word. Someone says to a woman of Avid or a slave, Ganvali, go and steal from me. Delav b'nei chiyuva. They are not b'nei chiyuva. They don't have anything to pay with. Hachanam de chayiv shalchan. You can tell me yesh liach l'dvar aveira. Says the Gemara, 1 second. You missed the step. They're obligated by the Torah not to steal. Less than the shlume. They just don't have the cash to pay. But of course, they're obligated to steal. And of course, therefore, ein shliach l'dvar aveira. The Tanan, how do we know this is true? If after divorce or after Evid is freed, they have to pay up if they actually stole. So Teretz number 1, why you can't ask from Evid v'isha. Rav Sama Amar, excuse me. Sama is a second teretz. Ravina said that what? It's talking about Bardas. Rav Sama comes along and he says, if one has a choice, Avol chatzar, again inanimate, the bal karchay ma'isiv abam chayiv shalchay. But a chatzar happens bal karchay, and therefore the sender is going to be the one that is chayiv. Says the Gemara, my beinayu. What are the practical ramifications between Ravina and Rav Sama? If a kain tells the Yisrael to please go marry for me, effect a kiddushin on a divorce, which a kain, of course, is not let to marry. Nami, or else, another case, Isha, man tells a woman, akfali katan, cut off the pace of a katan, which again, an Isha is not allowed, but an Isha doesn't have such a din of cutting off the corners of her hair on her head. So, if there's a choice, then we say ein shliach l'dvar aveira, according to Rav Sama, hachanami in these two cases. So we can say ein shliach l'dvar aveira, and the one that sent will not be chayiv. But according to Rav Sama, it's all about if the shliach is included in the isser. Haninami, in these cases, the Yisrael is allowed to marry a grusha. The woman is allowed to cut off the corners of her head. Ninu machayiv shalchan. Then we'll say yesh shliach l'dvar aveira. We're going to stop over here. Actually, no. Let's continue a job further. Ask the Gemara. We just said we have a machlekes. Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish. Rav Yochanan says yad. Reish Lakish says shliach. Says the Gemara, really? Does anyone disagree that it's not your yad? It's Rabbi Vatani. We learned to the Bryce, the 2 lines to the bottom. So what do we see? We see a clear Befer Shabraisa that clearly your chatzar is your hand. Answers the Gemara. Get that price was about get. So when it comes to accepting a get, everyone agrees it's because of your yad. Keep Metziah. Mar Savar. I apologize, we don't have the next page in front of us. Yalfina Metziah mi get. Rav Yochanan holds we learn on Metziah from get, and therefore it's due to yad. Mar Savar Yalfina Metziah mi get Reish Lakish. When it comes to Ketana, everyone agrees. We're learning out from a get, therefore it's like get. But over here we're talking about a katan. Mars Rav Yochanan holds Elfin Kata Mikatana, and therefore it's all about the Yad. Mars Rav Yishakish holds Elfin Kata Mikatana. Vibai same a third teretz. Mars Rav Chada, Umar Machada, Veloy Pligi. Or we could say that there is no machlekes at all. Both Rav Yochanan and Rav Yishakish agree that when it comes to Katan, the Chatzar would allow to effect the divorce, but not by a Metziah. Rish Lakish and Rav Yochanan are going to argue b'dafka by a Metziah, not by the Katan, by Gerushin. Pick it up from the Mishnah, Yud Aleph Amud Aleph, B'siyata Dishmaya.